What's up, guys? Welcome to Craft Cohort channel. And today we have a guest from Israel. Scott Markovits is a startup mentor. Scott, hi, and how are you today?
All is well. How's everything going with you?
Everything great, thank you. So, can you please start by telling a few words about yourself?
Sure, I'm more than happy to do an introduction. So I'm Scott Markovits, and as you said, I'm living in Israel, originally from the States. I've been building startups for 12 plus years, was a first hire in an early stage company and helped build most of the teams and things within the company, helped grow each one of those teams and verticals, handed it off to somebody else to keep growing, just kind of pivoted around to where I was needed next. Took that experience to start coaching and mentoring founders who were behind us at that point. One passed me to another. And 10, 11 years now, I've spoken with, consulted, mentored more than 2,000 startups and founders and try to be very focused on the 0 to 1, 2 to 10. So very focused on building the infrastructure and the ground floor and the first early scale. And then I get bored very quickly.
I see. So, basically, as I understand, currently your main focus is Zeros to Ones YouTube channel. Can you please tell a bit more about this one?
Sure. So yeah, that's one of the content channels that I have interrelated to the work that I do. So about 6, 7 months ago, I decided to go all in on the consulting work. It's something that I've been doing more as a hobby for 10 plus years, something specifically I didn't want to do full time, and then decided, okay, maybe it's time to, and God's sign to go in all in on this. So decided to do that. I have a number of clients that I'm coaching and that I'm working with. And the idea behind the Zeros to Ones channel is there's a million and one, times 10 founders who are at that early stage, either right before building a startup or struggling at the beginning of the startup and trying to get it off the ground. And there's, for me, kind of very 5 core elements that fit into the reasoning behind companies not getting off the ground or failing very early on. So 0 to 1 is just micro and larger content, very focused on those lessons, use cases, tear downs of those kind of very foundational principles that many founders get wrong, and trying to illuminate, to try to help them get on the right path of don't make this mistake and think about this and think about that, and content that's hopefully helpful to current founders or to be founders.
Okay, and I'm curious what meaning you put in zeros to ones itself. Is it like 0 to 1 million or 0 to 100%?
I think probably just zero, like nothing to something, right? It could be like the basement to the first floor or the entrance to the first floor. It's like just getting that first something. So it could be the first customer. It could be the first funding round. It could be the first anything. And just getting off the ground. Then I usually do 2 to 10. And that's kind of getting like the initial scale. Okay, you're getting more revenue in, you're getting more signups, you're getting more traction. Like now you're not blowing up, but you're starting to see the things that you've been doing are starting to work. And so for me, 0 to 1 is just like those foundational pieces. And as I said, I've spoken to more than 2,000 startups. And every one of them that failed, which I knew pretty quickly that they will fail, fails on usually on problem market fit, but part of go to market. So it's just like those foundational pieces you have to have the right strategy for in the right place, because if not, you're not getting anywhere.
I see. And I'm curious because our channel is mostly focused on digital health. Can you share your experience about mentoring healthcare and wellness startups among those 2000s?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've have coached, mentored probably in the range of 50 to 60, I would say, startups in the health and wellness space, ones that are bunch of them in the mental health space, a number of ones in like the exercise type space. I've helped other ones who are building more SaaS products for people in the health and wellness space. But it's something that's very more focused on like a B2C, D2C type model and not into a hardware or anything you need a deep domain expertise. I was helping one company who was building technology to be able to diagnose strep throat through algorithm and through a kind of an image that you take. So very focused on, again, on like health and wellness, not really, not any deep tech or any kind of deep medical devices or anything like that, but very much of kind of consumer driven health products.
So as I know, some startups, like all startups, share the same challenges, but I'm curious from your experience, are there any unique challenges that healthcare and wellness startups face?
I think one of the biggest ones is that line of, we'll call it health to wellness, where I'd say things on the health side are more diagnostic, you're trying to diagnose, or you're trying to give recommendation, we'll call it health recommendations. And that can be a very kind of gray line, because at least if your target market is the US, right, for those things you need to have FDA approval to be able to diagnose or to provide specific health recommendations. And if you're in a analytics tool or you're any kind of AI tool who are giving some kind of insights, right? The fact that the AI puts some insights into this is working, not whether it's right or it's wrong, it doesn't really matter. And there's nobody standing in your way from throwing out any data. But in the health and wellness space, there is that especially requirement. So I think especially companies, and maybe we'll dive into that conversation point later, it's, do early stage startups, should you start on the wellness side where you're not maybe specifically diagnosing, maybe you're hinting in a specific direction, or you're giving not recommendations, maybe you're just collecting publicly available recommendations from health and government kind of websites and different things like that. So you're finding kind of like the gray area to still provide a value to users, but you're not crossing the line where now you need to have any kind of FDA clearance. And outside of that, I think, again, if you're looking to do something more deep tech where you're really going into the diagnostic space, then the biggest issue is, right, you need funding upfront just to be able to build things. Unlike maybe a wellness app or something like that, where, right, you can probably build it on a no code, or you may just have maybe a developer, or you have technical skills where you can just build something, we'll call it over a weekend. When you need to be doing diagnostics, like, you need money to be able to build that, because it's going to take time. It's going to take, building algorithms and fine tuning algorithms, and that takes time and money. Something that you can't put together in a weekend. I think those are probably the two biggest ones that I come across.
I can complement that in terms of a lot of funding. For example, here in Germany, when your mobile app should get a DIGA status, which means it's a medical application, the certification itself can cost about like 1 million euros. So to get all the certifications, the company also should have the funding, not only to build the product, but also to certify it. So I believe this is all over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've helped a number of companies in this space who ultimately want to go in the certification route, especially maybe focusing maybe in the US, because that's when you can kind of come into insurance reimbursements and getting into hospitals and bigger agencies and things like that, where you need more of that data. You need the FDA stamp on there. But again, you either need to raise that money up front or go into kind of, again, the wellness side, try to build some revenue there, get some traction, and then try to raise money down the road once you've hopefully built something successful, to then spend the time and the money into going the FDA route.
So let's talk a little bit about mentoring startups. So startups at zero level, when they just, like idea or MVP building stage, they are at a shortage of money, and they should be very cautious about spending those. So how a mentor can help the startup at this level? And is there any way to measure if the mentoring was worth it?
Absolutely. So caution in spending money, I would kind of put a question mark on that. For me, there's a famous saying in the US called saying that to make money, you need to spend money. And one of the first questions that I ask when I meet with founders is we usually do a kind of a SWOT analysis. Your box with the four quadrants on there. And really the focus of that is to understand what you're good at and you enjoy doing, and what you're good at and you don't enjoy doing. And obviously the ones that you don't have experience, you're not good at. A founder should spend all of their time doing things that they're good at. Stop. Anything that they're not good at, they don't have experience in, whether they enjoy it or they don't enjoy it, they should not spend any time doing it or trying to figure it out, or watching zeros to ones, YouTube channels, and trying to figure it out themselves. The best thing that they can do is bring in someone that knows what they're doing in this specific space. Because again, I've seen so many founders make this mistake where they don't know marketing, but they understand, okay, we need to do ads or whatever it is. So they watch YouTube videos. They spend 6 months. They spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to figure out ads. They spend hundreds of hours trying to figure out the ads. And then 6 months later, they've gotten nothing. They've had they've had no successful impact on that, and they've just wasted time and money. So for me, it's the recommendation is understand what you're good at, what you're not good at. Go bring in someone else to do that, because the return on investment is going to be significantly higher. The way to see that the person is making an impact, it's number one, do they have the right plan in order to try to succeed in whatever it is. And then putting the plan in place and then having kind of the metrics to say, okay, no, we're looking to get another 1,000 people to our website by the end of the month, right? Week by week, are you starting to see that traction? Are you seeing 100 to 200 to 500 to 600? Are they putting the effort in, and that's having the return on investment? So I think a lot of it comes to the data to see, are you moving in the right direction? And it could also be with strategy play. A lot of and maybe we'll dive into this as well, a lot of the companies, especially that I've mentored, doing things around mental health in the last 2 years have been trying to focus on B2B, right? Because that's where the money is. That's where investors tell them, oh, you have to be B2B. If you're doing anything in like the mental health space, especially for companies, B2B is not the play at all, because number one, companies don't have money now. If they do have money, they're not spending it. And like your pie just kind of keeps getting reduced more and more. Does everybody get help from this type of mental health? Whatever product you're building? No. So you get your pie reduced so much that when you're an HR person looking to spend the money, they say, oh, okay, well, maybe this product would only help 20% of our employees. Should I spend X amount of dollars on that, on only helping 20% of employees today? Not really. So the much better focus is on the B2C. So I've helped companies transition from the B2B model to the B2C model. So getting initially on the B2B model, they were getting almost no leads. They were getting almost no signups, no demos, no anything. And now pivoting them to the B2C side, are you seeing signups? Are you seeing people use the product? So I think just being able to, here's the plan, here's what we want to do, and then seeing the data behind it to validate, yes, this is the right direction or isn't. And sometimes it isn't. And then you need to make a pivot, or the person running the product needs to make a pivot to go to a different direction.
I see. And I'm curious, if the mentor helped you to get from 0 to 1, should be the same person that helped you to scale from 1 to 10? Or it should be another person with another expertise for like scaling already working businesses?
Typically, it's different people. Very few people have that lifetime experience in 0 to 1, in 2 to 10, and 10 to 100. And more importantly, sometimes when people do, and this is something that I see very often, somebody will get a mentor or be a founder. Oh, I had a successful exit in this type of product. That's great. But that was one company. So even if you're building a product, in theory, in the same space, having the same success the second time around isn't guaranteed. So finding someone who's done that 0 to 1 or 2 to 10 or what have you multiple times, you don't find very often. So again, I think that's something very specific to look at. If you find someone who's done 0 to 1 and 2 to 10, I'll put myself in that category, who's done it across 2,000 different companies. That's one thing. But if you have someone who's done 0 to 1 with 10 companies and done 0 to 1 with 10 companies and 2 to 10 with one company, then that person is probably not the right fit for when you get to 2 and getting to 10. You want a different person on board from that, because again, the challenges are different. The scale is different. What you need to spend your money on is totally different. The strategies are different. So finding someone that has that stage experience is extremely important. And this is even a big mistake I see startups make with hiring. Startups love to get somebody with an Atlassian name on it, or some big name company on there with a VP of engineering from whatever Apple. Oh my God, this person's going to be the amazing thing. It's a night and day different story of coming into an organization that has a mature product that you're just building on top of, has millions of dollars of budget to buy tools and hire people and things like that. But if you're trying to go from 0 to 1 or 2 to 10, like you don't have a budget, you're probably trying to bootstrap your way through. You have a limited amount of money. So having somebody with that title on the resume means little, and it's actually probably worse for you to hire that person than it is to hire someone who's successfully built a product in our engineering side from 0 to 1 and 2 to 10, because that person understands what the budgets you have, what the limitations you have, what you can build, what opportunities you have, how many people you can have on the team. So yes, I think it's very important to focus on the people who have the stage specific experience that you're at.
You partly answered my next question, but this was like, there are a lot of fake gurus up there saying that, oh, I did it with 100 startups. So how the startup founders can validate this person? Just, ask for the reviews from these 100 startups or check it somewhere, how it should go?
The first thing, I would just look at their experience. to me, the most successful people right now that are selling the fractional business or the freelance business or any of these types of businesses aren't people that are actually building successful fractional businesses or aren't building freelance businesses. They're selling to the people who are trying to build a fractional business or freelance business. Or the same thing in mentoring. They're trying to help mentors get more clients or more do anything like that, but they haven't built anything themselves. So the first thing is just looking at the person's portfolio, look at their LinkedIn page. Hey, has this person been a first and early hire at some successful company who's helped build a company from 0 to 1 or 2 to 10 or what have you? And then looking at, again, whether it's on LinkedIn and what channels they have, what other companies have they done it for? Again, have they done this once or have they done this multiple times? And if they've done it multiple times, what other companies have they done it for? Again, they don't need to be Airbnbs. It doesn't need to be Uber and Airbnb and like all these huge companies. Okay, that's great. But if they've helped a bunch of companies who've gone, that you can validate they've gone through this stage of a process. Again, that's, I think, the first starting point. Then the second, and usually the way that I work is when I start with clients that I have, it starts off with like a free introduction call. And usually what we try to do is like, what's your biggest obstacle right now? And it's just kind of like a feedback session of here, they'll just share what the issue is. And regardless of what space it is, I'll kind of share my feedback. And then if they've gotten enough value out of that, then it turns into an hourly call. So I do two types of work with startups. And one is kind of an hourly coaching, and the other is embedded leadership, where it's like a 6-month contract. And the clients that I have on the 6-month contract, they all started in the hourly side, right? 60 minutes, strategy, big picture things, trying to knock through obstacles and get a feel of that person, right? It's kind of like a test. Does this person make sense? Are they helpful? Do you believe in that person? And then, yes, if you really believe in it and they have the plans and they know the space and they understand what everything is, okay, then go to that next step of bringing them on board, as a fractional leader for a 6-month contract or a 3-month contract or something like that. And even in essence, the fractional idea is really kind of a test drive, right? This person is your strategy person, right? This person could be your next COO or chief of staff or something like that. But at the stage you're at and the money you have, you don't have the money or the budget for that person, and that person doesn't have enough work to do with the company. But maybe in 6 months from now they will. And so if you can work with that person for 6 months and they get you from 0 to 1 or A to B, then hey, this person is validated that this is the right person to be working with. So I think that's the best way that founders can start, right? First, look into the founder, see what they've done before, look at their history, start with a kind of a conversation. Look, also, they putting out content. Are they putting out content like 0 to 1? Is it helpful content? Are you learning something from it? Is it giving you some insight you didn't think about? And then start with a conversation. Pay that person for an hour of their time. The biggest obstacle that you're running into, or the biggest piece of advice that you need, if it helps, have a second call, have a third call. And usually after 2 or 3 calls, that should be enough to either sell that, yes, this is the person to work with, or no, this person maybe just isn't the right fit for the team, and then move on. And then you're obviously not dedicating 6 months. You're not signing any agreements for a longer term contract. It's just an hourly rate at 2-3 times and go from there.
And I'm curious, for example, if I'm new to this industry, I don't know how to find mentor, and there is someone saying that he was mentoring like 50 startups. Is it possible, or what would be the easiest and fastest way to validate that this person actually worked with these startups? Because, usually it's not publicly information that this mentor helped our company to grow from this point to this point. So what are the ways to validate it?
To be honest, it's difficult. I mean, it also it depends on the capacity of what they've worked with. Someone that, let's say, that I've done, again, I've spoken to 2,000 startups. Most of them have been one-off conversations or like an hour conversation that they paid me for. So to say, yes, I've provided some value to them, but could I get that person to provide a testimonial? Maybe. There are founders who I do these calls with, and I usually kind of, as part of like the sequence that I have, is I have a follow-up asking for just feedback, not as much for like a public testimonial, but hey, I'm always trying to get better at what I do, so please share feedback. And that's one way. So if these mentors have a page of testimonials, whether video or any type of format, that's a great thing. If they said that they've worked for a company and like on the more kind of like a 6-month type agreement or more like a long-term type agreement, always worth asking. Again, can I speak to somebody there? Can I get some feedback to talk to somebody who's worked in there? And also, again, it's the idea of, even before that, even without that, do they understand my industry? Do they understand my stage? Are they the right fit for where I am, what I'm trying to do, what I need to do? And are they giving me the right advice for that type of space? And sometimes, again, if they really deeply know the industry and strategy and things, I'll give you an example. One of the clients I have now, again, also started with these multiple hourly conversations over a couple months. They're an employee of record tool, and specifically to one country. And one of the ideas of things I'm helping with the company is to try to grow the company and figuring out where else can we bring in revenue for. And 6 months ago, I had a meeting with them, and I said, the next natural fit for a company like this is in the recruiting space. Like, you're helping pay employees for companies, right? The next natural stage would be to help those companies maybe find those employees. Within 2 or 3 weeks, both Oyster and remote.com both launched some recruiting type side business, one a job board and one referral to recruiters. So giving somewhat of a kind of a prophetic vision, 2 to 3 weeks before this was kind of launched publicly, just in the sense that I understand what this market is, what the needs are. And here's what my strategy, right? This is what I would do. If I were you and I had the money, I was trying to think, this is what I would do. And then to see that validated in theory in the market with some of the major players that are there, again, that could tell to the founder, okay, this person doesn't know what they're talking about because, hey, they gave me this advice before anyone else rolled it out. Then I saw my competitors do it. Okay, this person is onto something.
So how do startups actually find you to start working with you, or is it you who find them? And if you can reveal some numbers, what would it cost them to work with you at this stage?
Absolutely. So thankfully, all the work that I've done to date has been probably about 90 something percent inbound and word of mouth. And again, a lot of this has come from over the years of doing this as a side hobby. Every week for 10 something years, I have like 2 or 3, we'll call it office hours. These are like those kind of 30 type minute conversations, just talking through a point. And there's been enough, in theory, value that I provided some of these founders over that time that they'll pass me on to another one and to another one, and introductions and things like that. So almost all the work that I've had to date has been through just word of mouth, through introductions. And I think that this is also something that anyone who's in the fractional world or who's the mentor needs to be doing anyway. But also, whether you're a service provider, it's creating free content or giving out free stuff, whether it's free advice on a one-on-one kind of office hours, whether it's doing webinars, sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience for a person to kind of get that initial taste. Did I learn something? Did something kind of open my eyes to something? And then, right, kind of go down that journey that we've spoken about. So working with me for, again, I always do 30-minute introduction calls that are free, again, just to kind of get a test of each other. Do we work together? Does it make sense to work together? Then it's moving to an hourly fee. It's $200 an hour. It's simply bookable through my website. And I have founders that I speak with once a week. I have ones that it's every other week. I have ones that it's just whenever they feel like, hey, I'm running into this obstacle or I could use some advice, they book some time. And then the embedded leadership option, again, is a 6-month agreement. And it's a flat fee, typically for like $5,000 for roughly 10 to 15 hours a week.
Yeah, it was mentioned that those numbers are valid at the time of recording this video. So probably 1 year from now, Scott will charge $1,000 an hour. So make sure that you get in touch today.
We'll see. I would probably say the opposite of the sense, like, again, because all this mentoring that I've done over the years, a good core of it is just to be helpful and to give back to the community. So for me, I think as I help startups, and one of the things around pricing their products is, right, your price shouldn't be an obstacle for people doing business with you. So in the same sense of, hey, right, God willing, I become the biggest startup mentor on the planet, I would certainly not want my price to be an obstacle for startups to be able to get advice and be able to get help from.
Oh, you're very generous, Scott. So it was really interesting. At the end of the video, can you please give top 3 advices for healthcare startups when they just at the beginning of their journey?
Sure. The first, again, I would say is understanding, depending on like the funding market, things like that, do you go the health or wellness space? Can you build a wellness product again with that gray area where you don't need any type of FDA or European type of stamp to have a product, especially if you aren't able to raise money or you can raise enough money or what have you, really understanding, can you start a product in the wellness space and then move over to the health space or the diagnostic space or what have you, as you move on by. So I think that'd be number one. Number two would be finding the right market. And again, for cases like that, as I said, in the mental health space, right? B2B is just not the play now. Maybe in 2 years from now it will be, but right now, regardless of what any investor tells you, yes, investors want to see a bigger TAM and on the B2B side because it makes more money, but you're not going to get any sales on the B2B side at all. So picking the right market, and again, probably for at least the next year and a half, that is on the B2C side. The third is, I can give a couple. Maybe I'm going to give more than three. Number three will be always now solving a problem. That's the reason, the single number one reason why startups fail at the early stage is they're not solving a problem. They're just building another product. So the idea of, let's call it in the mental health space, you have Calm, you have Headspace, both great apps. So if you're going to build a meditation app, the world doesn't need another meditation app, right? There's these two companies and a million other ones, but there are limitations with those, or there maybe not, there's some pieces that are missing. Go fix those problems with it. Just to build another meditation app, you're never going to get off the ground because there's just too many of those. But if you find the right space or the right problem within the existing market, or if all the mental health space, mental health products are going B2B and they're all trying to sell B2B, sell B2C, right? Solve the right problem for the end person that's using it. The fourth, again, also would be monetization, right? Don't, as I just said before, don't make your price an obstacle for people trying to get a value out of it. And that can be a big issue. And I'll give another example for that. I'm a somewhat avid exerciser. I run 3-4 times a week. I use Strava. I don't run because I'm trying to run a marathon or win a race or anything like that. I just do it for heart health. So for me, I have zero desire or interest in paying $10 a month for more metrics or more maps or things like that, right? The metrics and what my heart rate zones are, like, yeah, that's definitely interesting, but it's not interesting enough for me to spend $10 a month for just that functionality. So looking also on the side of, but you know what? I would absolutely pay $10 one time for that functionality. And I think that's going to be a very big movement in the startup world as a whole over the next couple of years of one-time payments. I know 37 Signals is moving in that direction with some of their products, and they're big advocates for it as well, right? It's another one. I go to the gym, right? I have an app that I use to track all my exercise and things like that. Yeah, I would absolutely love to know, have charts. Am I going up? Am I plateauing? And even more on the side of, hey, if I'm plateauing, give me some, maybe tell me what exercises I can do to try to get over that plateau. Again, would I pay $10 a month for that? Not at all. But I would be happy to pay $10 one time for that, because again, the value, it's not a life-changing or life-critical type product. So I think price is also, again, a necessity. And I think the last one is just making sure that you're building for the end user. So especially if you have the idea of B2B, right? At the end of the day, the company that you're going to be selling it to, their employees are going to be the ones who are actually using it. So you need to build, in essence, like a B2C product that you're just selling to the B2B. So making sure that your UI and UX are just absolutely perfect. It's seamless. It's easy to use, because if it's not, and this was a case with a company that I mentioned earlier who was building technology to diagnose strep throat. They had built all the technology on the back end. And I had gotten to a number of called arguments with the founder, because I was trying to help a friend who was potentially joining this company, that the technology in the back end may have been absolutely fantastic, but the workflow was take picture, the doctor or the nurse in a doctor's office would take a picture, and they were also trying to sell the B2B. So trying to take a picture in the doctor's office of your throat, then get that photo from your phone to the computer, then upload the image from the computer up to this diagnostic tool to then get an output, right? How much time, how much effort that's needed, where you're trying to replace like the little swab. a swab in the mouth, you send it to a lab, and especially not knowing they didn't understand the U.S. market, right? It's not like here in Israel or maybe countries in Europe where socialized healthcare, where saving cost is a huge incentive to the healthcare groups within the company, within the country, because right, they're paying for the same service. Unlike in America, a doctor's office doesn't pay for these strep throat swabs. The patient pays for those. So doesn't that doctor doesn't really care what it is. And I was trying to push this person into the B2C space, but also mobile app, right? Have a mobile app. It's just as simple. You face the camera to yourself, open your mouth. It gives you like a little target, 3, 2, 1. And then within seconds gives you, even in that side, right, the health and wellness. According to our whatever diagnostics, it looks like you have strep throat. We recommend talking to a doctor to get tested or not. So even you kind of finding like that gray space of not saying, yes, this is definitely strep throat, right? Because then you need to go the whole FDA route, but it looks like it, go talk to a doctor or not. So building a back-end product had absolutely zero use case, and building for the wrong market as well. So again, I think it's at the end of the day, building for the right person, make it simple, make it easy to use, would be another one of my top tips.
Fantastic. Scott, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to talk to you today.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on and share some thoughts. And if anyone needs some help in the community, I'm here to be supportive to you and your community.
Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please support the channel with like and subscription, and let me know in the comments below who else you would want me to talk to.